A major severe weather outbreak is expected to impact the midsection of the country this Friday, where we do see that large areas of Missouri, Illinois, Iowa, Arkansas, Tennessee, and even Mississippi get involved with an enhanced risk of severe weather, where large hail, damaging winds, and possibly a tornado are all in the realm of possibilities with this severe weather outbreak. And we do see a slight chance just outside of this enhanced area, but we do see that there is a higher risk of severe weather over a large area of the Midwest that's expected to persist all day on Friday. So we're gonna take a look at this and really determine when you should experience the worst impacts and what could exactly make the severe weather impacts more impactful or less impactful based on several factors we're taking a look at over the next 24 to 48 hours. Take a look at what the GFS model is stating at this time. We do see that there's a pretty powerful trough that's coming off the coast of California with plenty of cold air behind it. And just to the east of this trough, we see a very powerful persistent ridge that's been persistent over the eastern half of the United States for quite a while now, for the past several weeks, for most of the winter, I'll say, which has been preventing a lot of snowstorms from moving up along the northeast coast. But as you can see, if we were to continue to move forward with the forecast, this trough will eventually move eastward. And by the way, the forecast is very certain at this time regarding the chance that there's going to be a severe weather threat in the Midwest, as it seems like both of the computer models are in nearly an exact agreement regarding the exact track, the strength of this low pressure system, as well as the amount of convective available potential energy that will be available in the Midwest, where both of the main computer models do agree that there's going to be just enough wind shear and just enough lift in the atmosphere in the Midwest for this significant severe weather threat to develop as we approach a Friday time frame. And if we were to continue to move forward, we also see that there's going to be just enough cold air just to the north of this trough for a significant winter storm to develop, where many areas of the northern Midwest could experience over 6 inches of snow and some areas over a foot of snow. But moving forward with the forecast, we see that this low pressure system has a millibar pressure that's right around 987 millibars, so it is on the higher end when it comes to strength for a mid-latitude trough that's moving through during the springtime. And so we do see that there's also going to be plenty of wind associated with this low pressure system, which will enhance the wind shear along the surface, especially right around Missouri, Illinois, for the possibility of a tornado tornadoes to develop in a large area of the Midwest. And we're of course going to see plenty of lift thanks to this instability, and the millibar pressure will continue to drop as a result of this, and we're going to see heavy snowfall just to the north of this trough as well. And by the way, this all occurs right around the Friday time frame, or Friday afternoon to the evening time, throughout Missouri, Arkansas, Tennessee, northern Mississippi, and Illinois. That's when you should expect the worst of the severe weather, where the instability will be at its highest point before eventually winding down as we approach the midnight time frame on Friday, where of course the atmosphere will become more stable as the short wave radiation from the sun isn't necessarily there to enhance the instability at this point. And plus, there's going to be the dew points, and the humidity is going to be very high with this as this trough continues to head eastward towards the Midwest, where we're going to see dew points right in between the 60s and the 70s in some areas of the Midwest. So of course there's going to be plenty of lift, plenty of humidity for a high likelihood of severe weather to develop in the Midwest. And the forecast is very certain at this time, like I've been saying. And then beyond this point, it should be primarily quiet, but you need to pay close attention to the possibility of another snowstorm moving through the northern Midwest as another trough comes off the Pacific Northwest coast. Now let's take a look at the European model, and you're going to see that the European model is showing a forecast scenario that's very similar to what the GFS model is stating. So this is the European models forecast, and as you can see, there's going to be a pretty powerful trough, of course, coming off the Pacific Northwest coast, and moving forward, we do see that there's going to be just enough instability in the midsection of the country for severe line of thunderstorms to develop right in between Missouri, Arkansas, as far south as Texas and Louisiana, as well could get involved with severe weather. So make sure to pay close attention to that, and the winds will be quite strong, even if you're not necessarily going to experience some severe weather out of this storm system, because even in the Northeast, the winds should be gusting anywhere between 40 to 50 miles per hour, because with a low pressure, with a millibar pressure that low, it's just asking for a lot of air molecules surround it around center circulation and circulate towards the area where the pressure is low, and that's what's going to create a large wind field and, of course, stronger winds with a millibar pressure that low. So you need to pay close attention to that possibility as well. And I wouldn't be surprised that at times, if you're under the snow associated with this storm system, that you could experience blizzard conditions with these with the wind gusts occasionally gusting over 40 to 50 miles per hour at times. So make sure to be aware of that possibility as well, that there could be snow drifts if you're expected to receive snow from this storm system. But just to the south, make sure to pay close attention to tornadoes as well as damaging winds and large hail. I'm gonna show you guys the convective available potential energy levels right now, as well as wind shear, to really show you guys how high of a tornado threat or how high of a damaging wind threat you should experience from this storm system. Taking a look at the GFS's models forecast when it comes to the convective available potential energy levels as we approach the Friday timeframe, we do see that it's initially going to be getting quiet when it comes to convective available potential energy, but moving forward into the late Thursday into early Friday timeframe, we're beginning to see that convective energy move northward as a result of the instability that's developing between this cooler trough that's moving towards the Midwest, as well as this very warm core ridge that's bringing the strong southerly winds, as well as the warmer air and the more humid air further northwards, where the dew points are going to be in the 60s as well as, and there's going to be plenty of humidity. And once it encounters a cooler, more dense air mass, it's going to be forced to rise up aloft in the atmosphere, creating a lot of lift and, of course, convective available potential energy, which is exactly what we're seeing right here, where by the peak hours on Friday, we should see convective available potential energy levels close to 2,000 joules per kilogram, which is quite high when it comes to the amount of energy. It isn't necessarily extremely high to a point where this will be an extreme severe weather threat, but this will easily be enough to create a high possibility of large hail, because when we see convective available potential energy levels high enough, that means that there's a lot of lift, and of course those strong updrafts are going to force the rain droplets aloft in the atmosphere to rise up, stay in the layer of the atmosphere where the temperature is below freezing, and of course that'll freeze and eventually become hail once the hail weighs just enough to a point where it'll weigh a little bit more than how strong the updrafts will be for the hail to fall. And that's how we see hail, and that's expected with convective available potential energy levels this high. And also with energy levels this high, it'll create a very large area of lower pressure along the surface for damaging winds to also be an issue, and that should enhance the wind shear for tornadoes as well to be associated with this storm system as it moves eastward. And here's the amount of shear that the GFS model is forecasting as we approach Friday timeframe, and we do see that the wind shear will increase dramatically once this storm system approaches the Midwest. Once we see the instability reach its peak point, and this wind shear is going to be located over an area where the convective available potential energy levels are going to be high enough for the possibility of tornadoes to develop with those very strong updrafts. They're probably thinking that we should see the same thing in the Northeast thanks to how strong the wind shear is, but the convective energy isn't there in the Northeast for such tornado outbreak to exist. So the highest probability of tornadoes will be somewhere in between Missouri, northern Arkansas. This is where you should expect the highest risk of a tornado, and I wouldn't be surprised if that tornado risk moves as far east as Indiana as well, because the dew points will still be high, the humidity will still be high, the instability should still be high, a little bit less high than what you should see in Illinois and Missouri, because of course by the time the storm system approaches Indiana, we're already going to be in the evening to overnight hours, or where the atmosphere will begin to stabilize. But we still should see enough instability for that tornado threat to exist even further eastward. And if we were to take a quick look at how the wind changes with height, right around Missouri, we do see that that the winds will dramatically increase with height, which should allow for a higher risk of a tornado outbreak to occur right in between Missouri and Illinois. So make sure to be aware of that possibility. So here's the European model snowfall forecast. We do see that the European model is expecting a large area of 6 to 12 inches of snow, and even some areas where you could experience over a foot of snow, such as northern Michigan and portions of northern Wisconsin. The European model is exaggerating just a little bit in South Dakota. The snow should be more like 6 to 12 inches rather than 12 to 18 inches that the European model is forecasting, but still, this should be a significant snow event. The certainty is high. It should impact the bigger cities like Minneapolis as well as Green Bay, and areas in northern Michigan. You need to pay close attention to your next major snowstorm that should move through by Friday into early Saturday. And the GFS model is showing a very similar forecast, which shows that the forecast is very high with this snowstorm. So here's my severe weather as well as snowstorm forecast as we approach the Friday timeframe. So if you're in the red, you should expect a major severe weather threat where large hail and damaging winds are likely, and the possibility of a tornado certainly does exist. So in between Missouri, Illinois, Tennessee, Arkansas, pay very close attention to that, and then expect a pretty significant snowstorm to move through Minneapolis, South Dakota, and even Wisconsin and northern Michigan, as you should expect anywhere from 6 to 12 inches in a lot of these areas. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content.